Why 1991? Michael Jordan was a basketball god. The year he stopped being human. There are certain moments in sports where an athlete doesn't just play better, they play on a level that feels unfair, unreal, almost supernatural. For Michael Jordan, that moment wasn't a single game, a single shot, or even a single series. It was an entire year. The season where he stopped looking like a basketball player and started looking like something the sport wasn't ready to understand. Because this wasn't the high-flying kid from the 80s anymore. This wasn't the scoring machine who could drop 40 whenever he felt like it. This version of Jordan was colder, calmer, and impossibly precise. Every move looked intentional. Every possession felt controlled. Every defender seemed hopeless before the play even began. It was as if he de-unlocked a level of the game no one else had access to, a level where athleticism, skill, IQ, and obsession merged into one unstoppable force. And what's wild is, Jordan didn't dominate the league that year because he was angry or emotional or trying to prove a point to the world. If anything, the opposite happened. He became quieter, more distant, more focused in a way that almost frightened the people around him. Teammates said he walked into games like a man who already knew the future. Opponents said guarding him felt like guarding a shadow. Every time you thought you had him contained, he'd slip away like he was bending the laws of the court. This was the Jordan who learned patience, the Jordan who learned the triangle, the Jordan who learned how to weaponize his teammates instead of carrying them. The Jordan who didn't just beat defenses, he dissected them. And as the months went by, the league started to realize something uncomfortable. The only thing more dangerous than a young Michael Jordan was a mature Michael Jordan who finally understood how unstoppable he truly was. Because in 1991, Jordan wasn't playing basketball the way everyone else did. He moved differently, thought differently, destroyed differently. This was the year he broke past the limits of talent and entered a realm athletes rarely reach, a realm where dominance stops looking human and starts looking like destiny. And the craziest part, this transformation wasn't an accident. It was triggered by something far more personal, something that had been building inside him for years. Section 1, the breaking point that created a monster. Before 1991, Jordan rose like a god. He first had to be broken like a man. And that moment came 1 year earlier in 1990, when the Detroit Pistons dragged him through the kind of humiliation that sticks to a competitor's soul. For 3 straight years, they bullied him, threw him to the floor, grabbed him mid-air, hacked him on every drive, and smiled while doing it. And each time the Bulls got close, the Pistons slammed the door shut. But 1990 was different. That loss wasn't just painful, it was personal. Because the Bulls weren't just defeated, they were embarrassed. Chicago walked off the floor looking empty, confused, and crushed. Jordan, on the other hand, walked off with a look people had never seen before. Not anger, not frustration, something darker, a kind of silent calculation. Like he wasn't thinking about the loss itself, but about what he needed to destroy to make sure it never happened again. Teammates said he barely spoke during the entire summer. He didn't rant, he didn't complain, he just disappeared into the gym. He lifted heavier, he trained longer, he rebuilt his body piece by piece until he wasn't just strong enough to survive the Pistons' brutality, he was strong enough to end it. And even more unsettling, he rebuilt his mind. The playful trash talker from the late 80s faded away. Replacing him was a version of Jordan who studied everything: spacing, timing, angles, habits, weaknesses. He wasn't trying to beat the Pistons anymore. He was preparing to erase them. People close to him said he carried the loss like a scar you couldn't see, a quiet, burning reminder of what needed to be done. And when the season finally arrived, it became obvious. Jordan wasn't coming back for redemption. He was coming back for revenge, carefully planned, slowly sharpened, and ready to be unleashed on anyone in his way. Section 2. The body transformation nobody talks about. When the Bulls returned for the new season, people expected Jordan to look angry, but nobody expected him to look different. He didn't just show up stronger, he showed up rebuilt. His shoulders were wider, his frame was thicker, his movements were sharper, heavier, more controlled. He looked less like a high-flying guard and more like a finely tuned weapon. And this wasn't some random off-season bulk. Jordan's transformation was intentional, almost scientific. He targeted the exact weaknesses the Pistons had exploited for years. They knocked him out of the air. He built leg and core strength so it wouldn't matter. They pushed him off his drives. He added upper body power without losing speed. They tried to tire him out with contact. He trained until he could play through it like it was nothing. But the physical change was only half the story. What really unsettled teammates was how disciplined he became. No late nights, no distractions, no social life. Just a daily routine that looked more like preparation for war than basketball. He stopped trying to outjump people. He started trying to outlast them. Every sprint had a purpose. Every lift had intent. Every drill felt like he was chasing something invisible or running from something nobody else could see. Phil Jackson later said that Jordan walked into that season like a man carrying a mission. And that mission wasn't just about strength. It was about shifting the way he played the game entirely. Because after he transformed his body, he began transforming the one thing even more dangerous than his athleticism, his mind. And that evolution turned him from the most talented player in the league into the most intelligent one. Section 3. The birth of a basketball scientist. Strength made Jordan harder to stop, but intelligence made him impossible. 1991 was the year he stopped relying on pure talent and started playing like a grandmaster 10 moves ahead, calm, patient, and terrifyingly precise. And this shift began the moment he fully surrendered to Phil Jackson's triangle offense. At first, Jordan resisted it. Why wouldn't he? He was the best scorer alive. Give him the ball, clear out, let him work. But the triangle forced something uncomfortable: trust. It demanded spacing, timing, discipline, and passing. And once Jordan stopped fighting the system and started understanding it, the league didn't stand a chance. Because now, instead of attacking blindly, he could see the entire floor like a map. He predicted traps before they formed. He manipulated defenses by shifting one step left, or holding the ball for half a second longer. He knew where every teammate and defender would be, not intuitively, but deliberately. Opponents said it felt like he was reading their thoughts. Teammates said he became eerily calm, like he no longer needed athleticism to dominate. His decision-making sharpened. His shot selection became ruthless. His playmaking took a massive leap, turning him from a scoring engine into an all-around orchestrator who controlled tempo like a conductor. This was the version of Jordan who no longer wasted energy. He attacked angles, not bodies. He exploited habits, not matchups. He punished the smallest defensive mistake instantly. And the more he mastered the triangle, the more dangerous he became. Because now, defenders couldn't predict when he would score, only that he eventually would. This wasn't the evolution of a star. It was the evolution of a strategist, a player weaponizing every ounce of experience, pain, and obsession. Section 4. The 1991 regular season. Efficiency. That didn't feel real. When the 1991 regular season tipped off, it didn't take long for people to realize something unsettling. Jordan wasn't just better, he was cleaner, sharper, more efficient than any perimeter player in the history of the sport. Night after night, the box scores looked unreal, not because of the points, but because of how he was scoring them. 31.5 points per game on 54 shooting. As a guard, nobody had seen anything like it. This wasn't the young Jordan flying past 3 defenders or dunking through traffic every possession. This version barely forced anything. He moved like he knew the outcome before the play even began. He'd jab once, read your balance, rise up, and hit the mid-range like he was touching the net. He'd glide into the lane, absorb contact, and float the ball softly off the glass. He mastered a post game so polished it looked like a veteran big man trapped in a shooting guard's body. And while his scoring looked effortless, his impact went far beyond the points. He was defending like a man angry at the idea of letting anyone breathe, jumping passing lanes, chasing shooters off screens, guarding the opponent's best perimeter player every single night like it was personal. At the same time, he was running the offense with a sense of patience that confused defenders. If you doubled him, he punished you with perfect passes. If you left him alone, he shredded you with mid-range daggers. Leave the paint open, he floated to the rim like gravity didn't apply. There were no weaknesses left. Every part of his game synced perfectly: the skill, the power, the IQ, the control. And as the Bulls climbed to the top of the league standings, it became clear. Jordan wasn't chasing numbers. He was preparing for something bigger, something everyone knew was coming. Section 5. The Revenge Tour. Ending every rival, see story. Michael Jordan didn't enter the 1991 playoffs hoping to win a title. He entered them with a list of every team that doubted him, every player that taunted him, and every franchise that believed he was and to built for championships. And at the top of that list were the Detroit Pistons. For 3 years, they played the villain in Jordan's life. They beat him with force, fouls, and psychological warfare. They bruised him, dragged him, slammed him, and then smirked while walking past him. Jordan can to win playing that pretty boy style, they say. And for 3 years, they were right. But not in 1991. From the opening tip of the Eastern Conference Finals, Jordan didn't look like a man trying to overcome a curse. He looked like he came to erase history. He didn't react to the hard fouls. He didn't complain to the refs. He didn't show emotion. He played with a silence that scared even Detroit's toughest players. He ripped through their double teams like they weren't tea there. He punished every mistake. He rotated on defense with a precision that made the Pistons' offense collapse again and again. And the Bulls didn't just beat Detroit. They swept them. They humiliated the same team that had built an entire strategy around humiliating him. Jordan never looked over at their bench, not once. Because for him, this wasn't a celebration, it was a correction. And then came the moment that became part of NBA mythology. The Pistons walking off the court without shaking hands, heads down, refusing to acknowledge the man who had finally broken them. Jordan didn't flinch. He just stood there, calm, collected, almost expressionless. Because for him, the Pistons weren't the goal, they were just the obstacle. Section 6, the Finals. When Jordan took the crown from Magic. When the Bulls reached the 1991 Finals, the NBA pushed a simple storyline. Magic Johnson was the king, and Michael Jordan was the challenger. But anyone who watched those games closely knew the truth. Jordan didn't come to challenge Magic. He came to take everything. Magic was still brilliant, a living legend, the ultimate floor general. But Jordan walked into the series with a presence that felt heavier, sharper, and strangely inevitable. From the moment he stepped on the floor, he wasn't looking at the Lakers like a team, he was looking at them like a target. Game 1 fooled everyone. The Lakers stole the opener, and commentators whispered that Jordan still wasn't ready. But Jordan wasn't shaken. If anything, his calmness after the loss made his teammates uncomfortable. He rewatched the film with a cold, surgical focus, identifying weaknesses, timing slips, defensive rotations. And when Game 2 arrived, the shift was immediate. He attacked the Lakers' defense with a speed that looked blur-like. He split traps before they even formed. He hit mid-range pull-ups that barely touched the rim. And when the defense finally collapsed into the paint, he unleashed the move that would be replayed for decades. The switch hands layup. He glided through the air, froze mid-flight like time had paused just for him, and casually flipped the ball to his left hand, scoring like it was nothing. Crowds screamed. Magic shook his head. Commentators threw their notes in disbelief. And for the first time, the basketball world realized Magic was witnessing the rise of a force he couldn't stop. Jordan didn't just dominate the series, he dictated it. Every possession, every run, every adjustment happened on his terms. By Game 5, it felt less like a finals matchup and more like a coronation. Section 7, the mindset, cold, ruthless, and almost mythical. By the time the finals were underway, people noticed something strange about Jordan, something that had nothing to do with stats or highlights. It was the way he carried himself. He wasn't smiling as much. He wasn't trash-talking like in earlier years. He wasn't celebrating after big plays. If anything, he looked distant, like a man operating on a frequency no one else could hear. Teammates described him as locked in to an uncomfortable degree. He'd sit in the locker room before games completely still, staring at the floor with a focus so heavy that rookies avoided walking near him. He didn't need speeches. He didn't need hype. He just sat there in total silence until it was time to walk out. And the moment he stepped into the tunnel, his entire presence shifted. His walk became slow and deliberate, shoulders forward, jaw tight like he was stepping into a place that belonged to him and him alone. Fans screamed, cameras flashed, music blasted. But Jordan looked through all of it. Opponents felt it too. Players said guarding him was unnerving because he didn't react emotionally. Hit him? He didn't glare. Score on him? He didn't flinch. Trash talk him? He stared right through you. It was like competing against someone whose pulse never changed. And the strangest part was the calm. Jordan's entire game in 1991 felt slow. Not physically, mentally. He saw plays unfold earlier than everyone else. He anticipated rotations before coaches yelled them out. He attacked gaps before defenders realized they'd left one. It wasn't the rage-fueled Jordan of the late 80s. This was a colder version, one fueled by control, not chaos. A master who knew the ending long before the story started. Section 8. Why 1991 was the peak of human basketball. By the end of the 1991 season, it wasn't just fans or commentators praising Jordan. It was the players who had spent years trying to stop him. And what they said wasn't normal praise. It was closer to disbelief. Because Jordan in 1991 wasn't at the strongest he ever was. He wasn't at the fastest. He wasn't at jumping from the free throw line anymore. This wasn't the raw, explosive prodigy the league first met. This was something much more dangerous. In 1991, Jordan reached the exact point where athleticism, skill, intelligence, and obsession overlapped. He wasn't relying on one strength, he had every strength. He had no weaknesses. There was nothing to exploit, nothing to force him into. He could score inside, outside, mid-range, post-up, off-ball, ISO, transition. Every zone of the court belonged to him. And the scariest part, he didn't force anything. He made dominance look effortless. Advanced metrics showed he was producing superstar numbers with fewer shots and fewer mistakes. His efficiency shattered logic for a guard. His decision-making bordered on flawless. His defense was suffocating without being reckless. And his leadership, mature, patient, almost stoic, held the entire Bulls system together. For the first time, the league wasn't just facing Michael Jordan, the athlete, or Michael Jordan, the scorer. They were facing Michael Jordan, the complete entity. A player who could beat you physically, mentally, emotionally, strategically, and make you question why you ever thought you had a chance. Coaches started saying it quietly. 1991 is the most perfect version of basketball ever played. And they weren't exaggerating, because this year, when just Jordan's peak, it was the moment basketball itself felt like it had been redefined, compressed into one season, inside one player, wearing number 23, a god in a human jersey. When the Bulls lifted the trophy in 1991, the world didn't just see a champion, they saw a transformation. Jordan didn't force the league to recognize him, he left it no choice. That season wasn't about highlights or records. It was about the moment a player reached the peak of everything a human can control: mind, body, skill, willpower. And for 1 year, maybe longer, Michael Jordan wasn't just the best player alive, he was the closest basketball has ever come to perfection.